Hello and welcome back to the F1 2020 My Team Career Mode here on the TomFM channel. Continuing on with Shitty Gel Grand Prix, our Grand Prix team named after our favourite player from Football Manager 2020. Hope you're all doing well today. Today it's the Spanish Grand Prix coming up, which is exciting. Only got 2 days of activities to fill according to our little timesheet there. So we'll fill it in with the 2 days worth of stuff there. But whilst we've got some money now, as you saw last time out, we are going to buy some upgrades to the chassis department, as you can see. So we're going to buy an upgrade in the chassis department to help improve our team a little bit. We're quite far behind in the chassis compared to every other team, but we now are ahead of the AlphaTauri team according to this sort of list of competitors there, which is quite good to see. So as we head into Spain, we are ahead of the AlphaTauri team, but if we get this unlocked in the chassis department, what we can do is upgrade our chassis even more than we need to, because as you can see, we do have the third worst chassis. We need to improve that quite a bit. I think we're a bit better in other areas, but the chassis is where we're quite far behind, so that's why we have to increase our chassis department so we can get some more upgrades over there. And as you can see, we went in to get a chassis upgrade as well, I believe. And also going for an aero upgrade as well, because obviously trying to improve as much of the car as possible is really, really good. We do need to start focusing on durability a little bit for next season, because as you can see, our engine is already pretty worn out. We're going to have to move some parts over to get some new components into the engine, so we're not going to be breaking down in the race, essentially. But what is good about this is that other cars, I presume, may not have made the changes to the engine, so they might be running really worn out engines. We're going to have a next to new engine heading into this race in Spain, so that might help us out massively in trying to score some big points this weekend. Spain is one of my best races, I've got to say, so hopefully that will help us out massively and we can get some seriously good points as we head into qualifying for our first quali lap. I really like the Spanish track, and obviously if you put the car on the curb just there, I think I touched it a little bit, I had to come off the throttle just a little bit, but if you go full throttle on that curb, you always spin yourself out. I was never used to be very good at Spain, but I've just seemed to have got the hang of it recently, where I can put the car and how to accelerate through these corners properly and where not to go off. That's another corner that you can easily go off on. As we come round towards the end of the lap here, of our first time lap here in Q1, and we set a pretty decent time, I've got to say, as we go sixth fastest. Is that? This preview screen is actually quite small on my end. I need to make this a bit bigger so I can actually see what's going on a little bit. There we go. I've made it bigger now, I can see. So I've just gone to the timing screen and I'm risking it. I think I'm going to risk it and just not bother setting another time in Q1. I think the time that we did set was good enough to be in the top 16 to progress into Q2. And as we progress, other cars are starting to set times. But weirdly, for whatever reason, as we go on to the results of Q1, from 16th downwards, including our teammate Alesi, no one set times, which is really bizarre. I'm not entirely sure why no one set time. So we could have done a rubbish time and still got through into Q2, which is where we are right now. But we're here sort of, I mean, I'd like to say on merit. I'd like to say that we are fast enough to go into this session. But there's part of me that just thinks that, well, those cars that didn't set times, why are they not setting times? What was wrong with them? Maybe they had broken engines and had to take gearbox or had to take grid penalties anyway or something like that. I don't really know, but either way, we are in Q2 and looking to set a good time in Q2 to try and get as close to Q3 as possible as we come across the line in a 1:18.8, which is actually slightly slower than our Q1 time to start off with. We go and set another lap, but we are slower by a few hundredths of a second, so not making any improvements there. And do we go for a third time? I think we do go for a third one. Yes, we do, as we unfortunately on this one get stuck behind Daniel Ricciardo right at the end, or right at the start of this lap with 41 seconds to go at the end of the session. And the dirty air makes a really big impact on this game, from what I've noticed from other people and from my own experiences in the game, because all the air that sort of comes off the back of a car creates a lot of dirty air in the background, so you can't really follow cars very closely. It disrupts your aerodynamics, so you can't really go as fast. So we do end up qualifying P16 for the race. We're going to go on to the strategy, 4 laps on the softs and then 13 laps on the hards for this race. I think we need to do that to try and get to the end of the race. So P15, not 16, sorry, as we have 5 red lights. And away we go. We get a really, really good start. Really good start. The AlphaTauri in front of us get terrible starts. Ocon gets a terrible start. Stroll gets a good start, but Ricciardo doesn't. We actually get held up massively there. If we didn't get held up, we could have made up so many places there. But as we try and hang it around the outside of some of these cars, as we try and take on Kvyat, but we can't really do too much because we're off the track a little bit there. And if we'd put too much traction down, we would have spun out, as Stroll has a better exit from turn 1 there, and he gets passes into turn 2. And now we head into turn 3, looking to maybe dive down the inside just a little bit, but Stroll closing the door on us there. But a good start up to P12 from P15, so already made up some positions, which I'm very pleased with. If we can just keep this up, this would be a very good race. If we keep making up 3 positions a lap, we could end up winning the race. However, I think that's very unlikely at the moment in our current car, but we've got past the Alpha Tauris of Gasly, but Kvyat, after having a terrible start, seems to have recovered a little bit, and he's got up to 10th position somehow, so he's done pretty well out there. But obviously we're meant to have a better car than the Alpha Tauris as we go real for a dive there on Stroll. It doesn't quite work out, so he gets better traction out the corner, but no contact there for anyone. Perhaps a bit of a late lunge, maybe not the most sensible move, especially on the first lap. You know, you can't win a race on the first lap, but you can certainly lose the race on the first lap, so you've got to be careful, and that wasn't quite so careful. But it looks like there's a McLaren going into the pits. I think it's Carlos Sainz. I assume he must have taken a bit of damage. There's also a Ferrari in there as well of Sebastian Vettel. I presume those guys may have taken a bit of damage and are now going to go onto the hard tyres for the rest of the race, so they could be quite dangerous later on in the race as we try and go around the outside here of Lance Stroll. Not quite working out, but because those two guys have gone into the pits, it moves up to P10, so we're in the points now at the end of lap 1, start of lap 2, which is fantastic. If we can keep this up, we could get some decent points here today, because I think this Spanish track, it suits me and it suits our car well enough. I think we can get some good points here. As onto lap 3 now, we've moved up to 9th position. I think someone must have stopped in the pits there as well, as we are trying to chase down Stroll. We're not really gaining, but we're not really losing on him. We seem to be going around the same pace as him, so that's something to maybe keep a little bit of an eye on right now, as we try and also hold off from Latifi behind us, who's still within a second of us behind. Latifi's managed to hold on quite nicely to us in the Williams, so he's also someone to look out from behind us as we come through these middle sector corners here, which can be quite tricky. If you get this corner wrong here, you go off the track every single time on both sets of curves. You've got to be so careful here. And then this next one, if you time it rightly, is a flat out corner, but I can never really properly time it properly, so I never quite go flat out there. But that's something to work on, something to improve on later down the line, as Sergio Perez is now at the session, and the safety car is deployed here on lap 3, right at the end of the lap for us, as well as his engine gives up the ghost. So we talked about earlier, we replaced our engine parts to avoid this happening to us. Clearly Sergio Perez hasn't avoided that, and he's had his engine blow up in the back of his car, and he's had to pull off on the side of a track here in sector 2. Luckily for us, we are right at the end of the lap when this happens, so we're going to go straight into the pits, and this will help us out massively because the cars ahead of us, apart from Kvyat and Stroll, who are also in the pits, and I think also a McLaren there, a lot of cars in front of us will have just been past the pit stop lane when that safety car came out, so we get a free pit stop essentially. You can see behind us on the mini-map loads of cars coming in. Hopefully we won't get held up too much in the pit lane, because we're right in the pit lane, so it shouldn't hold us up too much with everyone else coming in. As you can see, we're going straight back out again, moving up into P10. Was that moving up? It's not quite moving up, but we are ahead of some other cars that were ahead of us, I believe. I think some cars must have stayed out and decided not to pit. Your likes of your Vettel and your Carlos Sainz, who pitted earlier on. So they're having a great time. They're taking advantage of this. They're right up in front of the field now, I think, those two guys. Just because they pitted on lap 1 after maybe a bit of contact, maybe it was part of their strategy, I don't know, but they're going to really, really benefit from this, so they didn't have to pit there in that melee of everyone pitting. But as we catch up to the safety car here in P10, just behind Kvyat, this is a real chance for us now to accelerate and really, really take this race by the scruff of its neck and get some good points. As far as I'm aware, cars in front of us, like the Mercedes, I think the Renault right at the is in there as well, they haven't pitted yet. So I feel like we can make up some more places. If we get the race underway, it's a terrible getaway from us. We just sort of get going right at the wrong point for us as we're right in that traction zone. I put the foot down a bit too much and we nearly spin it out as we lose an awful lot of time to Kvyat there. This should have been a lap where we could overtake them with our Mercedes power engine in the back of the car down this pit straight, but we just couldn't quite get it done because I just couldn't quite get the traction out of this corner properly, which is rather annoying. But as we head on to lap 7 now, we are going to start to see some cars in the pits. I think we are now nearly 2 seconds behind Kvyat. He's had a great restart to the race. He's doing fantastic. Well, he's had some very good races this season, Kvyat, I must say. Daniel Ricciardo is behind us. We've got to try and hold him up. As I said before, I am pretty decent at defending on this game, so as long as we can park the car on the apex of the corners, we should be okay. But here comes Ricciardo, and this is where we need to defend nicely. We leave him just enough room, but not enough room to really accelerate through the corner. It means we have the better line of traction out of that corner, so we stay in track position ahead of Ricciardo, but we are racing him. He's made his stops as well. We are racing Ricciardo. It's not like we can let him through and he's going to pit later on. We do need to be careful and make sure we can get away from Daniel Ricciardo and defend well in the corners against him, because we could be defending from some serious points here today as we come down the pit straight onto lap 8 now, and Daniel Ricciardo has dropped back by a few tenths behind us. Not going to catch us up through his pit straight, but again, he is particularly quick through these corners where I'm maybe not so quick, I would say. But onto lap 10 now as we come across at the end of lap 9. Surely some cars are going to be pitting, and there they are. There's a Red Bull pitted of Max Verstappen. We've overtaken him and up to 9th position now, which is great to see. So hopefully we're going to see more and more cars enter the pits from ahead of us. Bit of a poor corner for us there, not the greatest of entries and exits into that. As you can see, the proximity markers going red because Daniel Ricciardo is right there forward. And is he going to have another go into turn 3 here? And again, we're going to do the same thing, leave him the room, but just not the room to go too fast around that corner. He's got to brake, and we just about get away with it again as we stay ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. But you can start to see the Haas and the Racing Point starting to catch us up a little bit, and behind them there's also quite the train of cars. So as the race goes on, if we keep defending like we're defending and keeping Ricciardo behind us, we are going to have a lot of cars directly behind us, which could be quite interesting come the end of this race as we head into the final few corners of lap 10. Lap 10 of 17 laps in this race, so we're well over halfway now, but the tyres are going to have to really last now. We pitted on lap 3, didn't we? And I've been pushing pretty hard. So these hard tyres by the end of the race are going to be screaming at me to come in and pit for something fresh. But we're not going to. We've got to stay out. Otherwise, we're going to lose so much track position here, unfortunately. It's Daniel Ricciardo. Is he going to make a move on us down this home straight? I don't know if he is, but we are going to overtake a Ferrari of Leclerc and Hamilton's Mercedes as well as they come into pit. They really lost so much time by not pitting or just missing the pits under the safety car there. So we're into P10 now as we come round towards the end of lap 11 now. You can really see this train of cars behind us now, including a Hamilton there as well. Hamilton's in that train of cars as well. He's going to be pretty fast because he's moving on to the soft tyres, but it does show how difficult it is to overtake on this game and on this track, because Hamilton is not being able to overtake the other cars despite them being on old tyres and him on fresh soft compound tyres, as Ricciardo looks to make a move on us as Bottas just comes out the pit ahead of us there. Ricciardo looking down the inside, we hold the outside line and he has to brake and back off from that move, unfortunately for him, but we hold on to position, which is pretty decent. And as you can see, everyone has pitted now. I had a quick look to see who hadn't pitted. Danny Kvyat has done really well out of all of us, pitted onto the medium compound tyres. That's why he'd get away from us so easily right at the start of the race, because he was on the mediums and not on the hard compound tyre like we were. Bottas has got a big job to catch up to him. Will he be able to do it? I'm not too sure, but I don't think we'll be catching up to Bottas in his Mercedes on his soft compound tyres, but we're still holding up the cars behind us as well. We're doing such a good job of this, and we are really going to be on for some serious points in today's race as we come round onto lap 16 now, the penultimate lap, and we've still been able to keep these cars behind us. But at the same time, Hamilton on his soft compound tyres hasn't been able to make the moves up the field that he would want to as well. So Hamilton is having a struggling time there on his soft compound tyres. Really not particularly good for him out there, unfortunately. So it does show like you can defend on this game pretty well, and it is relatively hard to overtake. You've got to be really committed and pick your moments well. On tracks like Spain with lots of corners, it's not the easiest one to overtake on, apart from down the straight and into a couple of corners. But as you can see, Ricciardo's right on our gearbox now, and you can see quite a few proximity arrows there as there's quite a train of cars behind us now, as Grosjean is behind Ricciardo. We've got Hamilton behind Grosjean as well. Hamilton may go for a move down the pit straight. This sort of back DRS straight here on Grosjean, as he looks to try and make his way up the field just a little bit as we head into the final few corners of this sector. I don't think Hamilton made the move stick down that. He did make the move stick. He got it through that corner. So Hamilton up into P9 now. Ricciardo P8. We're in P7. There's going to be an onslaught on this final lap. We've got one more lap to go in this race. Is it going to be P7? Is it going to be P8? Is it going to be P9? Or are we just going to completely fail and drop out the points completely. Well, we're heading down onto the pit straight now. We've got Daniel Ricciardo with DRS. We've got Hamilton with DRS as well as they chase us down. Hamilton isn't going to get past us because Ricciardo's boxing him. But Ricciardo going for a move down the inside. Is he going to get it? No, he doesn't. He backs out the move just at the last moment as we come round the first few corners here in Spain as we hold on to track position. But Hamilton managed to get past Ricciardo in that corner as well. And Hamilton has got the pace. He's got the soft compound tyres. He bullies us down the inside. He's done exactly what Ricciardo couldn't do. We tried to do the same thing, leave Hamilton the space, but not too much space so he can carry his speed through. But he just bullied us through that corner. We went out to go a little bit wider, and Hamilton breezes past us there. It shows how powerful that Mercedes is. And when Hamilton actually can get the overtakes done, he gets them done very easily, very quickly. He's up into P7 now. Ricciardo, though, only 3/10 behind us. Are we going to get P8 or are we going to fall down to P9? Leclerc is right behind him as well in the Ferrari. That Ferrari is very fast in game as well compared to real life, where it's not really anything in real life. As we make our way through the final few corners, ideally, no one's going to be overtaken in this section of the track. You don't take risks in this section of the track. It's just not really an overtaking area. We've got a 4/10 gap or 3.5 gap to Ricciardo. I don't think he's going to be able to get us around the corner because the line comes up really quickly. As we cross the line here, we've just about held on to 8th position and got some really, really good points today. Very, very pleased with that one. As you can see, the pit stop worked out so well for Sebastian Vettel there, the early pit stop, as he goes on to win the race. Alexander Albon in second position, and Lando Norris, I think, also pitted very early. He ends up in 3rd position with Carlos Sainz in 4th. So really, really good day for the McLarens there. But we end up in P8, getting 4 points to our name, which I'm very, very pleased with, I must say, as we move ourselves up to 13th in the driver standings with 10 points and up to 8th place in the constructor standings with our 10 points total there as well. Unfortunately for us, Lacey's not scoring points yet, which is rather frustrating, but hopefully he will do good for us next time out as we head to Monaco next time out. If I'm honest with you, I'm not expecting good things from this race. I'm not very good at Monaco. I really struggle in Monaco, particularly because I'm on a controller. It's almost impossible to do Monaco on a controller. It's really, really difficult, and we'll see what happens next time either way, as again, making some more money from the sponsorship, but not the Atlantic one. We need to get rid of that Atlantic one when that contract renewal comes up pretty soon. But that is the end of today's episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And of course, if you have done, drop a like on the video for me, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and I will see you next time for the Monaco Grand Prix. Have a good one. Goodbye.